And 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Can I Be Mean for a Sec? I'm your host, Maggie, joined by our other host and my best friend, Ella. And today we are talking about something that makes me boilingly angry. How is that different from usual? Couldn't tell ya. But have you ever been in a building? You know how some of them look nice and inviting, and they have design elements, and they look like they exist for people to feel a sense of something. And you know how others feel kind of like white cardboard boxes? We're going to talk about it. How you doing?
In some easier speak, why is the world losing color, and why are we being boring?
Yeah. Why is it? Because people make bad choices.
Bad choices is interesting take, but I agree that we shouldn't be going at the rate we are of losing our individuality.
If you are choosing to not incorporate design elements into the world, you are making a choice, and that choice is bad. I wish everybody could see the notes I wrote out for this before we started. We had to translate them into polite and also structured because they were a little bit wild.
Little advantageous.
But let's see what have you been noticing that you don't like?
So something that has been a topic of my algorithm on the internet is the loss of color in cars specifically. I know that we've talked about cars on a past episode, but I didn't get to really touch on the lack of color that there are in cars. And doing just like a little bit of research, because I just wanted to see, like, when did we stop producing colors or colored options for cars? And it kind of started in the late 2000s, early 2010s. According to Forbes in 2004, about 52% of cars landed on the grayscale. So whites, blacks, silvers, grays, anything of that nature falls on the grayscale. And then the other 48% are just an array of color. Granted, it's a little skewed towards reds and blues because people want red cars to go fast and blue cars because you're a girl, apparently. But there's still
Is this like Coke Zero? Is this like reverse Coke Zero?
not really, but still having that 42% of the color in cars gave a lot of variety on the roads. And just driving to and from, even road tripping through the countryside where you're driving through fields of corn, you were still seeing pops of color everywhere. And then in the late 2000s, early 2010s is where the grayscale started to be more popular, mostly because paints and pigments started to get more expensive. And when customizing a car, it would just be an upcharge for that pop of color that you're looking for. Or it would be a back wait of an extra 6 months to get a certain color just because of the demand for certain pigments elsewhere, or it just being an inconvenient time and place to get it for the average consumer. So the grayscale started to come up, and as of 2023, 80% of America's cars fall on the grayscale. So there's so many whites, blacks, and silver cars out there just for the simplicity of it's less overcharge for the pigment cost, or there's an easier demand for for that simple color. And so most of our streets now are just covered with this grayscale. And I remember vividly as a kid driving around having all the different colored cars. I mean, my favorite color is purple. You couldn't tell with anything in my background, but my favorite color is purple. I would love to have a purple car when I was growing up. And, having a more identifiable car now doesn't seem like a safe idea. But anything that could just be outside of the norm today just seems a little too like out there, a little too dipping your toe into, oh, that's some deep water over there. And I have a green car. It's not an outlandish lime green, but it's enough that like it's not unappealing to the eye as I'm driving around, but it's enough to know like, oh, that's a unique colored car. It's really sad that we are having to put an upcharge on individuality in something as simple as a car color.
I've never really thought about car colors all that much. The only thing I've ever thought about cars as I probably don't want a red one, especially if you have like a sports car, but just red cars in general are more likely to get pulled over because they stand out more and they tend to be people who do want to go fast. Again, usually a red car is probably going to be like a sports car or something. I don't know. Like, I would definitely like not a silver car, but I also didn't buy a new car. I bought a used car. And I think a lot of people buy used cars. So they're just kind of buying what's available. And then when you look at which cars are usually available in different colors, they're going to be a lot of either more expensive cars or cars that depreciate faster or things like that. Like, you can't drive past a Jeep dealership without seeing a purple car. Or, like, Subarus come in a variety of colors. I feel like I usually see them in not black or white or gray. They're usually like a light blue or a green or bright orange. There were like 7 bright orange Subarus, all the same kind of Subaru, in my hometown when my dad had one, which was very confusing because I thought, oh, he has a bright orange car. I'm never going to see another one of those. There was another one street over. I don't know. They had them all over the place. So you're not going to see colors as much in the Volkswagen Not Bug, though they are starting to bring them back with those electric vans that they have. But also, I feel like I lump a lot of colors into the neutral scale. So, like, blue is a neutral. I don't like red cars. I've never liked a red car. Yeah, navy is a neutral, and blue is, generally speaking, it falls into the neutral category. It goes with everything.
For those of you that may be listening and not watching the active video, I just gave Maggie the strangest look when she said that blue was a neutral.
Blue is absolutely a neutral. It goes with everything. That is the definition of a neutral.
The only blue that goes with everything is blue jeans. That's it.
No. Navy goes with everything, which is lots of blue jeans are navy. Light blue goes with everything. When you buy a suit, like when men buy suits, black suit, gray suit, blue suit, neutrals. White suit, not neutral. Blue suit, neutral. You can wear it with all kinds of things. Blue is a neutral color. When you look at lists, like neutral lists, they have like a variety of like whites and creams and beiges and grays and navy is a neutral color. I don't know, blue's a neutral color. But like when I think of like standard car colors, weirdly, even though I drive a silver car, don't think of silver. I don't like silver cars. I hate silver cars, actually. But like that there's a lot of car brands, namely I see it on Mazda CX-5s and Toyota 4Runners. They have this, or I feel like I've seen it on a truck occasionally, but not super common. But it's this like really dark midnight blue. Love it. She's shiny. She looks good. I think also color is coming back in cars, because have you heard about Nardy cars?
No. What are Nardy cars?
Okay. So, you know those cars that have kind of a flat finish? Hank Green made a video like 4 or 5 years ago about these cars because he got one. And he said that they looked like putty. And so he started Googling it. And basically, he goes through this whole thing. He goes through like 4 articles. What it comes down to is like there's a like nard is like a type of color pigment that they use. And so basically it's these like flatter colored looking cars. Like you drive a Nardy car. If you look at like the paint finish on your car versus the paint finish on, I don't know, many other cars, and you kind of see it's kind of got this more, flat's the best word I can use. Obviously, like it's shiny. It's got like a clear like sealant over it. But it doesn't have any sort of like sparkle feature in it that you'll see in a lot of other cars. And I feel like a lot of cars like that are coming in more colors, and I'm seeing that more frequently in a lot of cars. And I'm seeing it, I feel like, probably more in like SUVs But I mean, I've also seen it in like a Honda Civic. So it's just kind of across the board. And so you see a lot of these like non-metallic grays now. Or like it's non-metallic is basically what it is.
Okay.
So you have like a non-metallic green, or I've seen a lot of non-metallic grays, or it's always been kind of common with blacks and whites, but it's not as visually distinctive in those as it is. And then once I've heard about it, I can't unhear it. And so I can't unsee it. And so now I see it in like a lot of these cars. And I feel like those are coming a lot more in colors, because I mean, even like a taupe, a beige, that's not, it's a neutral, but it's not on the grayscale. So it counts as like a color in the car world. I don't know. I don't really think about it when I'm driving, like the color of other cars, but I guess that kind of makes sense. I don't really remember the car world being more or less colorful than it is now.
I think just as a kid, I had to be driven across town for like 30, 40 minutes minimum just to get to where I needed to go. Again, I'm a child. My mom's driving me. And I'm a child that gets car sick if I look down at anything. So I'm actively looking out the window. So
I don't know. I just don't really think about the color of cars. It doesn't really strike me all that much. But I guess it makes sense. I don't know. I don't think that's the place where I am most offended by lack of color in the world.
I'm also offended by lack of color when it comes to houses and new buildings. So, like when we moved into this house, we bought it and it was bright yellow. It was bright yellow.
It's not bright yellow anymore.
It's not bright yellow anymore. Well, we went from bright yellow to a beige yellow. It's all white now on the outside, but we used to also have blue windowsills, bright yellow blue windowsills for so long. And they recently got painted over, I want to say like 4 years ago, and now we just have completely new windows. But it was a beige yellow house with bright blue windows, and it was insane to look at from the street, but I absolutely loved it. So now that our house is just pure white, it's just a little boring now. The personality's on the inside.
I don't know if or when or why this changed. I don't know if this is necessarily a change, but I feel like it is. People are designing their houses more now to be resold than they are to live in them. And so, which drives me up the wall as somebody who can, has, and will destroy the crap out of an inside of a house to make it look nice. And I rent right now, and it sucks because I can't paint the walls. And like you can see, that's not a color. That's sadness, right? Also, the paint job in here is absolutely atrocious. I want a house that has color. I want to be able to paint my walls. I've got decorations and stuff up, and I want more of them. I have a lot to do. But how do people live the millennial gray fantasy? It's not welcoming. It feels cold. I've been in people's houses who not only is everything like gray, it's also like immaculately clean. And exclusively, they have wood look tile floors. Like, it is cold, it is clean, it is gray. How do you live like that? How does that feel comfortable to you? We have given up on, it's not just like houses, it's everywhere. We have given up on having any level of design elements, any level of things being designed for like the human condition.
For uniqueness.
Well, yeah, but not even like, okay, mass produce something that makes me feel good. Like, I need it to have an essence. First of all, I don't know that they've done this to all the McDonald's. But I walked into a McDonald's, and it's like, and I realized they had done it at my local McDonald's back home too, and all redone. It's got this kind of like modern, it's almost like a knockoff Panera. It's like kind of got this like green and this like brown, and it's like trying to like be something. No, I want your weird wooden booths, and I like those little squiggly chairs that you used to have, and like that is what I want.
Like the old school Taco Bell designs on the floor, on the cups, like the retro neon signs.
Yes.
And
Yes, like I need like there has to be some sort of design element to this, and some sort of design element that feels intentional. Like, so for anybody who has not been to Oklahoma or Oklahoma adjacent areas, I'm gonna turn you on to something real quick. You need to go, and you need to go to Brahms. I have been the number of times that I've actually cried in the last week thinking about Brahms. I am so homesick. I want Brahms so bad. But Brahms is a local fast food chain / grocery store / fresh market in Oklahoma. It's based out of Oklahoma. They only have locations within a day's drive of their farm. So they're only in Oklahoma, South Kansas, Western Arkansas, and North Texas. It's fabulous. I love them with my whole soul. Anyways, if you walk into a Brahms, it has a specific feeling. And some of them are a little bit more renovated, so they don't as much, but it has a very like small town gathering place meets old folks home in like somewhere between the 50s and the 90s. I'm not really good at that time frame. I was not alive then. Fun fact. They used to have this commercial that they aired, and they aired it until like 2013, and it to me is like the quintessential early 2000s is that Brahms commercial. And that is what it feels like every time I walk into a Brahms. And it's weird. It's not always the most inviting place to walk into. It always feels a little bit cold. Everything feels a little bit short, but it feels like something.
It is a cross between a liquor store and the produce section of a grocery store. Is
in terms of a vibe, not in terms of there is no liquor at Brahms. I want to make clear.
Yeah, in terms of vibes, it gives off the convenience store of a liquor store, but with the produce of a grocery store.
It does have a little bit of like a liminal vibe, right? Which I don't love. I don't love the feeling of a liminal space. And for some reason, that's what I love about airports is they don't feel like liminal spaces to me. They are inherently. It's not what they feel like. Airport feels like home, but we've covered this before. I don't want to go somewhere that just looks pretty. But I also don't want to go somewhere that does not look pretty. I want a place to care about its appearance. I want it to care about its essence. Another place that they have all over, so nobody has an excuse. That's not true. There's a lot of states where they don't have it, but North Carolina being one of them. But another place that I love back home, Fuzzies. And they have Fuzzies in lots of states. They're all franchises. And they all have a similar design vibe. They have a little bit of wiggle room, but they all have a very similar design. And it's very bright. It's very colorful. It's very kind of quintessential American taco shop kind of vibe. But it has an essence, and it's got color everywhere. And a bunch of them have like giant swordfish on the wall, and they've got like neon signs, and like it doesn't feel like a dive bar. It doesn't have like a dirty grungy neon sign type of vibe, but it doesn't feel like I'm walking into the Villa on Love Island kind of neon vibe. It's Fuzzies, and it has its own identity, and like I want a place that has an identity, right? But also so many places these days are just designed to look pretty on Instagram, and I hate it. And I don't hate it because like they care, but then also like sometimes they go real cheapo out on it, and it's like super obvious, like your like peel and stick wallpaper is peeling, and like the paint on this thing is flaking, and it doesn't look run down. It doesn't look well loved. It just looks cheap. And that's fine too, I guess. I don't know.
It's better than being bland, but I mean...
That's true. So on this topic, I saw something on the internet years ago. I see it occasionally. It comes up a lot. And it's basically like a railing on some sort of like pier or boardwalk. I don't know, but it's this railing. And it has like an old-fashioned railing from pre-1950s, if I had to guess. I don't know for sure. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen this. But it has design elements, and it's like this wrought iron with the like things on it and twirlies and doodads and whatnot, and it's got like it's whatever, and it's a railing. You know what a railing looks like. And then the one next to it is just like this silver, it's just like a kind of vaguely curved silver bar sticking up out of the ground with wires between it and the next one. And it is very plain. And I am well aware that sometime in the far distant future, there is going to be some sort of like cohesive concept of this is what design looked like at this time. But it was talking about how things are designed these days to be inoffensive. They're designed to be inoffensive. And it's okay to be it's okay to not like the way that something looks, right? Style is not for everybody. But at this point, inoffensive design is offensive to me. And I would rather be offended because somebody made a design choice that I don't like than be offended because no design choice was made at all. And that's kind of the point that it's making.
So nothing has deterred me more from continuing to visit an establishment than the vibes the place gives off, right? Discussing with some of my friends a couple days ago, we were working from a coffee shop together because we wanted to reminisce what it's like to sit and study at a coffee shop together and just be with people and do stuff together. So we just did that. We worked from a coffee shop. And it's one of my favorite places to go sit and work because 1, the internet's great, 2, there's good food. But 3, the vibes of this place are inviting and welcoming for you to stay, right? The layout of the place has so much seating, all respectfully spaced around so that if you're having a conversation at one table, the table next to you, unless you're talking at an above room tone volume, they're not going to hear you. They're not going to pay attention to you. There's outdoor seating with shade, patios. The internet still works outside, which is fantastic. But also the decor is a lot of plants, a lot of simple design. And there is color inside this building. And there's a full color scheme. It's blacks, whites, navies, and golds all through this coffee shop. While it's simple.
So neutrals.
I didn't say neutrals. I said it's simple. So it's very simple, but it's throughout the entire building are all of these colors. And there's also just graffiti of the mascot of this coffee shop all over the place. It's called Moon Goat, and so there's a bunch of astronaut goats.
I love it.
It's so great. So it's such an inviting place to be and a welcoming place to stay. If I visit somewhere and I walk in and I just immediately want to leave, that's not for me. Kava, I love Kava's food. I get Kava all the time. I don't like sitting inside of a Kava. It is so plain. It is so boring. It is the least inviting place and welcoming place to stay.
They have weird tables and chairs. Too.
Such
they're
strange
not
tables and
sturdy.
chairs.
They're not comfortable. Alex really likes to sit.
It's the wood mixed with the yellow that throws me off. Because the yellow is the same hue as the wood that they use. And it just doesn't match.
Alex likes to sit in restaurants and stuff. And I don't as much. Like, if it's like a real restaurant, like, that's fine. But, like, if I'm going to... I know, I just gave them, like, a whole shout-out and a whole ramble. I'm not a big inside Brahms girly. I'm much more of a Brahms drive-through girly. Take it home, eat it in the car. Top tier activity, go to Brahms, go through the drive-through, sit and eat it in your car somewhere. Whether it's the Brahms parking lot, I used to do that for lunch all the time in high school. Me and my friend, we'd go to Brahms, we'd pick up Brahms, we'd go back to school, we'd sit in the parking lot and we'd eat our lunch. It was primo. You want the real Oklahoma experience.
As if we haven't done that together.
He really likes Qdoba. Qdoba is like the least inviting. It is not designed for people to be inside of it. Weirdly enough, another place that seems particularly uninviting, Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yeah. Why?
Shout out a local Charlotte. But yeah, I don't know. And every time I go to Krispy Kreme donuts, it's like everybody's angry to be there. I've literally been to the Krispy Kreme donut shop that is attached to the Krispy Kreme donuts headquarters, and everybody's angry. And nobody wants to be there. And I don't understand. You're letting that slide. It literally the headquarters. Like, you feel like the people at the headquarters should be like contractually obligated to be like happy. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just get not as friendly. It is a little bit weird because we are in the South, but I digress.
You know what would be a great place to like a place that would have that energy and good vibes to sit at and to coexist for like, 30 minutes to an hour if they actually had like a cafe would be Dutch Bros. If Dutch Bros had a sit down cafe, would love it. The vibes the employees have.
Hard disagree.
I would absolutely love it because I go to Starbucks quite often and my team goes to Starbucks after practice. We sit, we chat, we get our coffee, and then we all go to work. And the reason that we do it at the Starbucks is because our favorite Starbucks has since shut down. They had RIP. They had just great staff. 1, 2, it was a great location. 3, they had the layout of the inside to accommodate large groups of people, super easy seating, and it just was a very inviting, welcoming place to be and stay. This new one, since that one closed down, doesn't quite have that same vibe. And I don't know if it's the people, don't know if it's the seating arrangements or whatever, because we're not a fan of the seating arrangements in that Starbucks, and they are getting new seating, which is super exciting. Dutch Bros, if they actually had a sit-down cafe, I think would be on a good vibe scale, would have a very welcoming environment, would also have a very colorful cafe too. I think that because all of their coffee shops are either walk-ups or drive-thrus. I have not had one or seen one with seating that wasn't like a park bench outside.
Well, they have like those tables that you can like. The one in Norman is, they kind of converted an existing space a little bit. It can't be the Johnnies. I don't know. They converted an existing space. Don't remember exactly what it was. And so like that one, you have like, you walk up and you have like those tables outside the walk-up pickup window. Kind of inside, but there's not like doors, but there's not chairs, they're just tables. And I feel like there's another one that I went to that had they had like a fake grass, like a turf area that had, I think, like a couple tables. Like, they don't have like a lot. It's not like a traditional coffee shop. And I could see it being like a nice place to like stand around, socialize, like if you're like doing stuff and then you stop by there and you like take a break in the middle of like hanging out with your friends or whatever and like spend 30 minutes there just like socializing. But in terms of place to like go sit down, hang out, read a book, I don't get those vibes. But that might be because to me it's like a very like it is very appealing to a very specific type of person. Like the like their drinks, whoever, but like the vibe of what it is supposed to be, I feel like, is very appealing to a very specific type of person, or intended to be very appealing to a very specific type of person. I do kind of respect that they would commit to, like, bright colors.
They'd be not boring, and they'd be welcoming enough. And I can understand the vibe not being someone's forte, but it's at least not sticking to the norm. It's not...
I think for me, it's very beachy, and it's not usually anywhere near a beach. Like, I could see if it was like basically you take Dutch Bros, or the concept of Dutch Bros, and you basically pick it up and put it on a beach, or you pick it up and you put it in a park, or you pick it up and you put it somewhere where like people are going to be walking around and also out and about, likely with a group of friends.
That's so fair.
And it's going to be like a walk-up place where people are going to like, and you don't have to drive there. Because as soon as I have to drive there, there is nothing about Dutch Bros that is going to convince me to hang out. Like, get out of my car and be here hanging out. Because it's just like a semi-outdoor kind of walk-up style thing in the middle of a parking lot somewhere. Like, that's the part that gets me. And that comes back to like American design and suburbia and car dependency, and there's a whole bunch of things that I have to say about that are going to piss off a whole bunch of people who are like, oh my god, why can't America just be more like Europe in this sense? Which also factors into a whole bunch of other design stuff that we might talk about. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, like I think the location would have to be different. And so like there's all these like, I don't know, sometimes there's like little just like local pop up, hey, I'm going to like come here and grab like a coffee or whatever, and it's like near a park or something, and you walk by and you do whatever, and like that I could see. I don't know. That's my thought. I've also heard when people bring up that we don't have well designed, and I don't mean like functionally designed, but people talk about like we don't have design flair anymore. A lot of people will bring up things like the Americans with Disabilities Act or like fire regulations and such, which again, going back to, I know that a lot of people that I see talking about this are specifically like, well, they have these things, and name a country in Europe here, name a country somewhere else there, name whatever place, right? And part of that is they don't have the same fire codes as us. Part of that is a lot of those buildings are older than this country. Part of that is we just don't have that same density most places for a variety of reasons. Part of that, though, is like we use almost these regulations as like an excuse, not to mention design elements are more expensive. And ultimately, people are just trying to save money. Historically, you're not necessarily spending a lot more to have a prettier building, but also like you want to spend more because you're like trying to show off. Whereas now it's all about like, we want it to be sleek and have these like technical amenities and stuff. And like, okay, cool. But like, does it have to be gray? Does it have to be that kind of weird gray blue that's not really gray and not really blue and just like not fun?
Like, does it have to look like you're in a hospital?
For real. Like, can we have something warm or inviting or comfortable? Like, hospitals have to look the way that they look because they're hospitals. They have to be made with what they're made of. They have to have what they have because they have to be easy to clean. It has to be pretty easy to like identify a bunch of things. They need to be inobtrusive. People need to be able to easily get around. They need to be the most accessible places. Like, that doesn't mean, I don't know, I've been thinking about this a lot too, because like you have a lot of these, you have all these people who are like, oh my god, mid-century modern, which like is kind of a vibe sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. But also, like, I see a lot of buildings around and I'm like, that's just generic building. But generic building actually kind of means a vaguely 1940s to 1970s looking building. But it's not mid-century modern, it's just what things looked like then. It's the same way that 50, 80 years from now, things are going to look different, and this is just going to be how things looked then. Notably apartment buildings, assuming that they exist that long. They probably will fall down long before that. They are built out of cardboard.
Apartment buildings need more character, especially with new developments. Not every single apartment building needs to have a boxed layout. It needs to have a feng shui layout. I agree with that, but it doesn't need to be just rectangle with one window. I've seen so many apartments where it is just one tube, my old apartment included. It's just a tube with one window in the bedroom, and if I had an indoor apartment building, wouldn't have had a window in my living room. Everything needs to have at least some originality and not just box.
So there is actually a reason why they're designed like that, right? Because I've seen a lot of stuff like talking about like different styles of higher density housing, and part of why apartments are designed with like that one hallway down the middle is because that's a fire regulation to be able to filter people out quickly and efficiently in the case of a fire.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like to going into the apartment to be able to have like some other layout that's not just box. Yeah, that's not just I'm talking about the apartment being one long tube, not the hallway. My apartment where I used to live was just a tube with one window in the bedroom, and if it was not an outdoor apartment complex, I would not have had a window in my living room. I would have just had the one window and not had any other light coming into my apartment. And so having it be 600 square feet of tube of an apartment, not the complex, but the 600 square feet of the apartment being a tube. Things need to be less box.
I guess it's kind of hard to, I mean, the only thing that you could really do in something like that is like more doors. So like less open floor plan and more like my kitchen is a room, and my, like, there's not really a lot you can do with something that size with like that footprint, right? Like it only has so many things in it. I don't disagree. Love a design element, and we should have more of them in things, but also just like every single apartment building in Charlotte looks the exact same because they've all been built in the last 15 years, and they've all been built by the same 3 companies. And so they're designed to be the least offensive and most appealing to the greatest number of people, which is fine. Except, like, when I get to my house, I want it to feel welcoming and not just like that random box over on the corner. And so like there are like Charlotte is a big townhome city, I'm finding, which I think is kind of cool, mostly because I don't have a problem with living physically attached to neighbors. For me, it's helpful because then when I hear any weird noises, oh, it's just, Steve down the hall or whatever, right? But there's a lot of like townhomes that have like a design element, like, so like they look cool, they look interesting. There are some apartments that look interesting, even just like a mixed use housing on top, stores on the bottom. We have my favorite place in Oklahoma City. That might be going a little far, but I am obsessed with it. We have an old, you've heard about it, you've heard me talk about it, but we have an old First National Bank tower. No idea how old this thing is. Old though, at least old by Oklahoma City standards. And she's got kind of an Art Deco vibe, not like 100%. I'm not certain her exact style, but I think she's kind of in that Art Deco kind of arena. If I'm wrong, tell me. But nonetheless, and she'd been closed and unused for years. And a development company bought it, and instead of gutting it, tearing it down, making it bland, they went in, and it might have been already a historical landmark, not entirely sure, but either way, they went in and they restored the entire thing. And they turned it into mixed use rental housing, hotel, and like restaurants and stuff on the bottom. So like around the outside, there are some like restaurants or like little stores, and then in the lobby they have a main bar, a restaurant made out of the old bank teller like cubicles, and I want to say there's a second restaurant in that area, but don't quote me on that. But then it's got this kind of like big kind of area where you would socialize, like in a hotel lobby, or it, like, obviously it used to be a bank lobby, but it's a hotel lobby now. And then downstairs in the old bank vault, they have a bar, and then behind the old bank vault, they have like a secret bar. It's really cool. I'm obsessed with this place. They redid it. It looks so good. The apartments look good. They've got like it's that kind of like polished, like, when I say they have color, I mean they've got like navy and gold, so still neutrals, but they've got this like, they've got color. It's not just like cream and beige, and like the hotel rooms, they have like nice, well-designed furniture, and it's just such a nice, good thing. And I love it. And I love that we're restoring old things, and that doesn't mean that we can't have new things. But we can have design elements, and we don't have to get rid of old things to replace them with new things. And yes, it has elevators, it has things that it has to have to be to meet ADA requirements. Like it's been renovated, but it's also been restored. And because it is a historical monument, or like a historical register place. And I remember this because in the bathrooms, even the bathrooms are gorgeous in this place. I'm obsessed with it. But they have these like giant windows And they have like a little note. They have little notes like on the sink counters saying, "Hey, just so you know, don't do anything weird. These windows don't have any tint on them because we can't put any on them because we can't change the outside visual aspect of this building because it's like a historical register place." Also really funny, at least the girls' bathrooms facing directly to the police department. I think it's hysterical. So really don't do anything weird in those bathrooms.
I think that also the uniqueness of a layout for like any housing. Please don't look at the house that we lived in our senior year. Don't model your house after that. Our house that we lived in definitely was just meant to be a 1-bedroom and like a mud room. 100%. But they converted it into a 2-bedroom, and Maggie was so kind as to take the mud bedroom. The hallway leading to Maggie's bedroom was through the pantry.
Yeah, this is how I learned if I don't have enough windows, my brain goes a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in a not very okay way. But yeah, we had like it was like a brick floor into this room, and then there was like a step down, and the room also had a brick floor. I think it used to be a garage, if I had to guess.
It looked like an original mud room because there was nothing to give garage with a door, but definitely like a mud room. The room was floor to ceiling brick, and
it could have been like a carriage room. Like it was like an older house. Yeah, I don't know.
The house was also shaped like a horseshoe, and we had the longest driveway and front lawn and a massive mailbox.
Yeah, we did have a massive mailbox.
I loved that.
It was teal too.
I loved that mailbox.
It was teal too. It was really weird. No, it was a weird place to live. It wasn't bad except for the lack of windows in my bedroom. I didn't think that would be a problem. It, I think, became a problem.
It did. But everything needs to. I love a place with character. Like even a friend of mine.
Same.
A friend of mine that lives in New York.
Great character.
She was telling me all of the weird quirks about her studio apartment, and it just gave it so much more character. And there's nothing. It's not like it was just out. Granted, yes, outright bad design, but it functions, it works, and you just chuckle a little bit. It gives it a bit more of a homey feeling.
I think too there is this level of like, so think about this a lot, right? Because my brain doesn't know how to turn off. I've been thinking about this for years. When I was 11, maybe, I don't know. When I was some age, we went and did like a road trip across South Dakota for our family vacation, which a lot of people who don't know any better are going to be like, oh my God, that sounds so boring, but it was really fun. And one of the things that we did while we were there is they have this Laura Ingalls Wilder homestead situation where she and her family lived for a little bit. And I was in my little house on the prairie phase at the time, so we went there. And there was this like tour, and you could like go through and like see all these different things. And there was one point where they were like, they asked for like 2 volunteers to pretend to be Laura and her sister Mary, who is blind, because every morning they would get up and they would go look out the window, and Laura would sit there and explain to Mary what she was seeing. And so I was explaining what I was seeing because I was playing Laura, obviously. And I mentioned the power lines, and everybody kind of laughed, and they were like, well, I don't think those were there when like they were around, right? But that gets me thinking a lot about things in houses that we do or don't have, or that we used to have and not have. So, for example, houses didn't used to have garages. Like an attached garage, which is something that where I come from is fairly ubiquitous in a lot of places because they're significantly newer developments. I mean, Oklahoma only became a state in 1907. So, I mean, people were only building houses there. Anyways, so we have like significantly newer houses, and most houses, especially in my town, have like attached garages. So that's like a very like normal thing for me to think of when I think of a house. But historically, for like all of human history, you know, like cars don't exist. Like you have a carriage house is over here. You gotta go hook the horses up to the carriage. So like why does it need to be in your house? You know what I mean? And so Like, and that's even if you had a carriage and a carriage house, which you had to have money to have. Or, for example, like, there are a lot of houses, like where we lived, that have, like, a built-in ironing board in the wall. Most people are not wearing iron clothes most of the time anymore. Like, part of the casualization of America thing that we've also talked about previously. So, like, there's that, or houses that have nooks built in to store phones in them. We don't have those anymore. Houses that had, like, built-in kitchen things in the counters or whatever, we don't have those anymore. But also we have a lot more kitchen gadgets now than historically people have had. Or
have you seen those kitchens or the cabinet installations for the KitchenAid mixers? And so it's all the home bakings, and it's so cool. So there's like the KitchenAid mixers, right? So you can keep it plugged in under the cabinet, and you can pull it out from the cabinet under the island, pull it up, use it, and then just put it back. So cool.
Yeah, I love that. Or, like, when you walk into a house and it doesn't really make sense where the refrigerator would go, it's because that house was probably built before we had standard issue refrigerators. Like, what we think of now is, like, orienting when you go into a house and you can't figure out where you're going to put, like, your couch in relation to your TV. That's because the house was built before TVs. Like, so much of, like, how we conceptualize how a house should work is based on current day, and so much of what we do current day is based around basically our entire lives, A, being pack-upable, and B, being digital. So, like I don't need, like, we don't have fireplaces anymore, really, because A, they're a fire hazard, B, if you're in, like, a huge apartment complex, it doesn't necessarily make sense, and C, we have central heating and air. It just makes more sense. Instead of everybody having to have, like, a shared chimney and, like, do all these things, especially with renting. And then on top of that, you have these developers who are out here trying to get the most bang for their buck. So they're making low quality mass housing that they can charge people out the wazoo for. And so they are making these places that are most tailored to modern life and also least tailored to anything in particular, so that you can come in and basically make it whatever you want it to be, except you can't actually do anything. So you just put your stuff inside of it, and you have to make it work within these boxes. And all of this is driven by the rise in independent living for young people. We have a rising marriage age, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. And we have a lowering of the age of people moving out of the home. We have significantly fewer multi-generational households than used to exist pre-World War II, just statistically. This housing boom of the last 80 years or so has led to the creation of these impersonal spaces. And then everybody's just, like, mass buying. In one of my favorite books, this character is in Poland he grew up in Poland in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. And he talking about his house and his mom's house, and he's talking, the book's set in 2004, and he's telling the story, and he's talking about how, like, everything in his mom's house was like an heirloom or a hand-me-down or like a very specific, like, furniture piece that she went out and got because her house was tailored to her home was her home, and she took pride in it, and she got these personal things. Whereas nowadays we're all just, like, mass buying whatever's out there, right? And then we have new things that are low quality that are also made to look old, and I hate all of those things. And, like, don't get me wrong, I have a big chain couch, same as anybody else, and I love it. It is blue because we wanted a color, but so much of everything is standardized, and this is all... I'm going on a long rant that has nothing to do with what this episode is about, so a bunch of this is probably going to get cut. All of this coming back, we don't have color, we don't have design. This is being done to make everything as mass appealing, like, as appealing to as many people as possible, but not, I think, in a way that matters. And it makes me sad. And I think that we can do better.
Yeah.
And I think that we should do better. And I think that people are trying to do better. Not developers. Developers can suck my left butt cheek. But I think people are in their own spaces.
Yeah. At least, like, try to have some of the individuality out there. Don't just try to appeal to the masses. Do whatever makes your heart happy is the moral of our story. So
make your home and make it comfortable. And people will want to be there with you.
Absolutely. So
that is my approach, and that is my philosophy.
Thank you guys so much for listening to us this week. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube at Can I Be Mean for a Sec. Also, go ahead and follow us on TikTok and Instagram to keep up with our weekly updates for when our new episode drops and some fun trailers that Maggie's been working on. So we will see you next time.
See you next time. Have a day.
Have a day.